We spend a lot of time outside with our dogs, and one of our biggest concerns right now is exposure to ticks, as well as exposure to Lyme disease. Now, in recent videos, we've talked about having a systematic approach to checking your dog to ensure that there aren't any ticks on them when you get home. And we've also spoken to Dr. Alex Avery from the Our Pets Health YouTube channel about what Lyme disease actually is and what sort of negative effects it has on your dogs. In today's episode of our series on ticks and Lyme disease, Dr. Alex is going to talk to us about some of the best tick prevention methods, as well as the best way we can help protect our dogs against Lyme disease. I'm Ken Steep, and welcome back to McCann Dogs.
I'm Dr. Alex from ourpetshealth.com and the YouTube channel Our Pets Health, where my aim is to help you and your pet to live a healthier, happier life. So Ken and the team at McCann Dogs, they asked me over to talk to you today all about the problem of ticks and the tick-borne disease known as Lyme's disease in dogs. Before I move on to talk about why ticks and Lyme's disease is becoming more common, it's important to mention just how much of a threat Lyme's disease is. In areas where the disease is really widespread and it's found everywhere in the environment, then about 75% of dogs, or that's 3 in every 4 dogs, will become infected. That sounds a lot, but thankfully, of these, only about 5 to 10% will ever show signs of Lyme's disease. This is clearly a significant number of dogs, but for the rest of those, the body's immune system does its job and it protects the body from infection. Okay, so now that's out of the way, just why are ticks and Lyme's disease becoming more of a problem, especially in areas where infection was previously unheard of or very rare? Well, one clear explanation is global warming. As winters shorten and the average temperature increases, ticks are able to survive and spread into areas that were previously too harsh for them to call home, or areas where they really struggled to gain that initial foothold and build their population up. They are also emerging from their winter homes much earlier, and so the tick season is becoming much longer than it used to be, and that really increases the chance of your dog coming across them on their walks. The local wildlife population will also play a role. If there are more of the tick's preferred hosts around in the environment, and typically those are rodents, then there will be more ticks. Equally, when there is more food for these rodents, such as years when there is a bumper acorn crop, then the number of these rodents will also increase. So it's likely lots of many different interrelated reasons for the changes that we're seeing, but one thing is certain, and that is that ticks and Lyme's disease seems to be becoming a lot more common. So then, just what can you do to help reduce the risk of your dog becoming infected with Lyme's disease? Clearly, the first step is to try and prevent being bitten by ticks in the first place. Simply avoid known tick hotspots, and these include deciduous forests and areas with tall grasses and vegetation like bracken. What these areas contain is a lot of wildlife for the ticks to live off, and also the vegetation, the leaf matter on the ground helps protect the ticks from harsh weather, and that can be cold. Also, it can be sun and drying out, which ticks are very susceptible to, and it helps them while they lay dormant over winter as well. Unfortunately, clearly this is not always easy. The hotspot areas might be everywhere, and equally they might not be known in your area where the real risk factors are. If you do want your dogs in these areas though, then you need to be extra vigilant to the threat of ticks. And then the next step to help prevent Lyme's disease in your dog is to use a product that either kills or repels ticks. So we can break these down into 3 main effective products. The first of these is spot-on treatments like Advantix and Frontline. The second one is oral tablets such as Bravecto, NexGard and Simparica. And then finally we've got the Seresto collar. As for which is best for you, well, really it depends on their lifestyle and your preference. The topical spot-on preparations, they work reasonably well, and they're certainly the older drugs that we had, and at a time they were the only option that we had to effectively control ticks. But in my experience with both my parents' spaniel living in a real high tick area, as well as my clients' dogs, the newer options available do seem to be better at killing ticks and killing them faster as well. So the oral tablets that I mentioned, they contain a relatively new class of drug treatment available to dogs, and it's really incredibly effective at killing ticks. And depending on the product, it lasts from 1 to 3 months. The downside of these products that you might have thought about is that they do actually require the tick to bite the dog before they are then killed. this takes place within 24 hours, so the tick will bite and typically die within 24 hours. And this might sound as though that won't be much of a help in preventing Lyme's disease, but in fact, Lyme's disease is actually only transmitted very slowly, and it takes about 48 hours for an infective dose of Lyme's disease bacteria to be transmitted from a tick into a dog. Moving on to the Seresto collar. So this is a plastic collar that lasts for up to 8 months and slowly releases the active ingredient into the oil layer of the dog's coat and skin. This then has the effect of killing ticks when they bite. It also repels them, and so it can help prevent bites in the first place, which is obviously great. There are 2 important points though to remember with the Seresto collar, and first is that it's very important that it's put on as instructed. If it's too loose, then it's not likely to be working as well as it could do. Also, if your dog spends a lot of time in the water, then it may be better to actually remove the collar every time they go swimming, just to ensure that it remains effective for the period of time that you expect. So people will talk about other products such as shampoos and powders or other natural remedies. In all honesty though, these are ineffective at preventing ticks to any significant degree. It's not something that's worth messing around with, and they're best avoided. Use something that we know works as well as possible. Okay, so those are the preventive treatment options to help kill ticks and prevent Lyme's disease infection. My next tip is to closely check your dog every day after every walk and remove any ticks that you come across. Even if you are using one of the preventatives that I've just been discussing, nothing in life is 100%, and so removing any ticks as soon as you find them is also a very important step. Now, Ken has already done a video covering a really great systematic approach on how to check your dog for ticks, so make sure you check that out. When it comes to removing them, personally, I love the Otom tick twisters, and what they do is they hook under the tick and you just turn them a couple of turns, and that causes the tick simply to let go. They're really simple, they work really well, and they come in a couple of sizes, so they're great for big ticks and also for small ticks just as soon as they've latched on. If you don't have one of these though, then tweezers are great. You just grab the tick as close to the skin as possible and pull it up. So you might leave some mouth parts behind, but these really aren't going to cause a problem, nothing more than a small lump, and really you shouldn't worry about that. You certainly don't need to go messing around coating a tick in any lotions and potions or even setting them on fire, which some people suggest. That's not needed. It can actually cause them to regurgitate back into your dog, which can make things worse. So use tweezers or a simple tick removal tool. Now, as a final preventive measure, there is also a vaccine available to Lyme's disease. Ideally, a dog should be vaccinated before they have had any exposure to Lyme's disease, as it's not known really how effective the vaccine is after a dog has been exposed to the disease. It's certainly known though that a vaccine is of no benefit for those dogs that are already infected with Lyme's disease. Again, vaccination does not provide 100% protection, and it's actually not one of the most effective vaccines in our arsenal to prevent disease in dogs, and so tick prevention remains a vital step even in vaccinated dogs. Another reason that tick bite prevention is really important is that depending on where you are in the world, there are lots of other diseases spread by ticks, and these can cause problems like paralysis, severe anemia, seizures, and obviously death. So really avoiding tick areas, using preventative medications and quick tick removal are vital steps in any area where ticks and tick-borne disease is present, not just Lyme's disease. I hope all this information has given you some answers to any questions you might have had about ticks and Lyme's disease in dogs. I'd really encourage you to talk to your vet and your veterinary team just about the risks in your specific area and come up with a real preventative treatment strategy that is best for your dog, using whatever preventative is best suited to your lifestyle. Remember too that Lyme's disease can infect people, so tick prevention in us by using things like wearing long trousers, using repellents like DEET, and checking yourself for ticks is also very important. So I'd like to give a big thanks to Ken and the team at McCann Dogs for inviting me back to talk to you today. You can find my other video on this channel all about vaccinations in your dog. And of course, I've got plenty of other videos over on my channel at Our Pets Health, where my aim is to help you and your pet to live a healthier, happier life. So until next time, take care.
Thank you again to Dr. Alex Avery from the Our Pets Health YouTube channel. I'll post a link to his channel in the description below, but he's really helped us make a more informed decision about tick prevention methods, and we thank him for that. If you'd like to see more of Dr. Alex's videos, check out his channel. The button's right there. On that note, I'm Ken. Happy training.